The relationship between a human and a domestic cat is often described as a series of negotiations, punctuated by long periods of silent observation. To the uninitiated, a cat's stare can feel judgmental, eerie, or even predatory. However, as an expert in feline behavior, I can tell you that when your cat watches you, they are participating in a sophisticated, multi-layered data-gathering mission. Cats are among the most observant creatures in the domestic world, and their gaze is rarely empty. It is a mixture of biological drive, social bonding, and a constant, low-level assessment of their environment. Understanding what is happening behind those slit pupils requires us to dismantle the myth of the aloof cat and replace it with the reality of a highly attuned social predator that views its human as a bizarre, oversized, and often unpredictable resource. The first thing to understand about a cat watching you is that they are masters of the contextual read. Unlike dogs, who often look to humans for direct instructions or emotional cues, cats watch humans to predict the immediate future. If you are sitting on the sofa and you shift your weight, your cat isn't just seeing movement. They are calculating the probability that this movement leads to the kitchen. They have memorized your micro-gestures. They know the difference between the way you stand up when you are going to the bathroom and the way you stand up when you are heading toward the cupboard where the treats are kept. When your cat stares at you from across the room, they are often simply waiting for a trigger event. They are experts in your routine, sometimes knowing it better than you do. This level of observation is a survival mechanism inherited from their ancestors. In the wild, a small wildcat must be hyper-aware of everything in its territory to avoid larger predators and to seize fleeting opportunities for a meal. In your living room, you are the most significant feature of that territory. Beyond the logistical side of being watched, there is a profound social element to the feline gaze. We often hear the term the slow blink, which is effectively a cat's way of saying they feel safe and trust you. If your cat is watching you with relaxed, half-lidded eyes and occasionally shutters them slowly, they aren't just looking at you. They are engaging in a vulnerable social exchange. In the animal kingdom, prolonged eye contact is almost always a threat or a challenge. By looking at you and then intentionally closing their eyes, your cat is signaling that they do not perceive you as a threat, and, more importantly, they don't think you perceive them as one either. It is an invitation to lower your guard. When they watch you while you sleep or work, they are often just basking in the social scent of your presence. To a cat, being in the same room and maintaining visual contact is a high form of intimacy. They don't need to be touching you to feel connected. The visual anchor is enough. However, we must also consider the more predatory aspect of the stare. Cats are visually wired for motion. Their retinas are packed with rods, making them exceptionally good at detecting movement in low light, though they struggle with fine detail and color compared to humans. When your cat watches you intently, specifically if their pupils are dilated and their body is tense, they are in a state of high arousal. They might be watching the way your fingers move across a keyboard, or the way your toes wiggle under a blanket. In these moments, they aren't seeing owner or provider. They are seeing an object of interest that mimics the erratic movement of prey. This doesn't mean they want to eat you, but it does mean their central nervous system is firing in a way that demands engagement. This is why a cat might watch you for 10 minutes and then suddenly pounce on your ankle. The stare was the loading screen for the physical action. There is also the judgmental stare, which is a common human interpretation of feline behavior. While cats don't possess the human capacity for moral judgment or spite, they do experience frustration and confusion. If you have disrupted their routine, perhaps by feeding them late or moving a piece of furniture, they will watch you with what looks like stern disapproval. In reality, they are looking for information. They are trying to figure out why the world, which you control, has changed. They are looking for a cue that things will return to normal. If you are acting strangely, perhaps you are dancing, crying, or exercising, your cat's intense gaze is a sign of cognitive dissonance. They are trying to categorize your behavior. Since it doesn't fit into the feeding, sleeping, or petting categories, they remain in a state of watchful waiting until you become recognizable to them again. Science has shown that cats actually develop a specific vocabulary of stares and vocalizations, specifically for their primary caregivers. Research into the human-feline bond suggests that cats treat us as a sort of surrogate mother or a social hybrid. When they watch you, they might be checking your emotional state. While they may not understand that you had a bad day at the office, they are acutely sensitive to cortisol levels and changes in your heart rate and body temperature, which they can detect through scent and subtle physical cues. If they watch you while you are stressed, they are processing the change in the vibe of their territory. Some cats will respond by approaching to offer a headbutt, aloe rubbing, while others will maintain a distance, watching to see if your instability poses a risk to the household's peace. Another common scenario is the observer at the door. Many owners find it unsettling that their cat watches them in the bathroom or through glass doors. This stems from a cat's dislike of closed doors, which they view as a breach in the security of their territory. When they watch you through a barrier, they are performing a security check. They need to know where all the members of their colony are. If you are behind a door, you are a missing variable. When the door opens and they stare at you, they are essentially re-registering your presence in the room. They are confirming that the resource, you, is still intact and functional. We should also talk about the starving stare. This is perhaps the most famous feline look, the wide-eyed, unblinking gaze that occurs roughly 30 minutes before your alarm clock goes off. This is a form of operant conditioning. Your cat has learned that by watching you intensely while you sleep, they can eventually trigger a response. Perhaps you moved a limb or your breathing changed, and the cat pounced on that moment to demand food. Now, they watch you like a hawk, waiting for the precise millisecond of wakefulness. They are willing you to move. In this context, their thought process is entirely goal-oriented. They are analyzing your sleep cycles to find the path of least resistance to their breakfast. It is also important to mention that as cats age, their staring behavior can change. Senior cats may stare into space or at you for long periods due to feline cognitive dysfunction, FCD, which is similar to dementia. In these cases, the cat might be feeling disoriented or stuck in a thought loop. If the stare seems vacant, or if the cat appears distressed, it's less about thinking and more about searching for a sense of place. However, in a healthy adult cat, the stare is a sign of an active, engaged mind. It is a compliment, even if it feels a bit like being under a microscope. It means you are the most interesting thing in their world. You are the provider of food, the mover of toys, the source of heat, and the strange, hairless companion who provides the social feedback they need to feel secure. When your cat watches you, they are essentially reading a book that never ends. You are the protagonist of their life story. They are thinking about the possibility of a treat, the comfort of your lap, the oddness of your movements, and the safety of their home. They are gauging your mood to see if it's a good time for play or if they should retreat to a high shelf. They are checking to see if you've noticed the fly on the ceiling or if you've realized that the food bowl is only 90% full, which, to a cat, is an emergency. They are living in the present moment, and by watching you, they are ensuring that their present remains stable. So the next time you catch those eyes fixed on you from across the room, don't feel unnerved. Take it as a sign of a deep, albeit quiet, connection. They aren't plotting your demise, they are simply making sure that their favorite giant is still doing exactly what they are supposed to be doing. Their gaze is the glue that holds the feline-human bond together, a silent language of observation that has existed for nearly 10,000 years. They are watching you because you are their world, and in their mind you are worth every second of their attention.